I woke up to a text that destroyed my marriage in 14 words. My wife wanted $54,000, our entire vacation fund, to bail out her criminal ex-husband. No discussion, no explanation, just a demand. By the time she realized what I'd done, I was already 30,000 feet over the Pacific. My name is Raymond Harper. I'm 50 years old, and I own a dental practice in suburban Phoenix. I've spent the last 2 decades building something solid, a business, a reputation, a life that felt stable. When I met Diana at a hospital fundraiser 8 years ago, she seemed like the missing piece. She was 46 then, recently divorced, raising her son Jordan on her own. She worked as a development director for a nonprofit called Riverside Community Foundation. She talked about making a difference, about helping families in crisis. I respected that. I thought I found someone who shared my values. We got married after a year. I welcomed Jordan into my home like he was my own, even though he was already 14 and carried that defensive wall kids of divorce often build. Diana and I talked about trips we'd take. Bora Bora kept coming up in those late-night conversations. She'd pull up photos on her phone, point at the overwater bungalows, and say, "Someday, Ray, when we've earned it." So I started saving. Every bonus, every extra shift, every profitable quarter went into an account I labeled Paradise Fund. 7 years of discipline, 7 years of saying no to impulse purchases. By this morning, that account had $54,280 in it. This morning started like any other Tuesday. I woke at 5:45 a.m., made coffee, and checked my phone while Diana still slept. One new message. From her. Sent at 5:12 a.m. I frowned. Why would she text me when she was 20 feet away? I opened it. Using our vacation fund to bail out Kyle. It's urgent. You'll understand. Handling it today. No question mark. No, can we talk about this? Just a statement. A decision already made. Kyle Bradford, her ex-husband, Jordan's biological father, the man who'd spent 3 of the last 7 years in and out of county jail for fraud and drug-related charges. The same man who'd called me the wallet at Jordan's high school graduation party while drunk, loud enough for half the crowd to hear. I read the message 3 times. My coffee went cold in my hand. The house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of Diana's breathing from the bedroom. I didn't storm in there. I didn't yell. I just sat at the kitchen table and opened my banking app. The vacation fund, $54,280. Still intact. She hadn't moved it yet. I checked the timestamp on her text again. 5:12 a.m. She must have been planning to transfer it this morning after I left for the office. I looked at the clock. 6:03 a.m. I had time. I didn't respond to her text. Instead, I opened my laptop and started making calls. Quiet, methodical calls. The kind you make when you're not angry yet. Just cold and calculating. Because here's what I've learned in 50 years. Emotion clouds judgment, but clarity? Clarity is a weapon. By 6:45 a.m., I transferred exactly half of that vacation fund, $27,140, into a private account she didn't know existed. Not theft, not revenge, just insurance. Then I booked a ticket. First class, one way, leaving tonight. Bora Bora, the place we were supposed to visit together. Diana walked into the kitchen at 7:10 a.m., already dressed for work, hair perfect, makeup flawless. She smiled at me. "Morning, babe. You're up early." I looked at her over the rim of my coffee cup. "Morning." She poured herself juice, humming something under her breath. Casual, comfortable, like she hadn't just declared war in a text message. "You sleep okay?" she asked. "Like a rock," I said. She kissed my cheek on her way out. "Love you. See you tonight." The door closed. Her car started. She drove away, and I sat there in the silence, staring at my phone, at that message, at the lie wrapped in casual affection. Tonight, she'd come home to an empty house. By then, I'd be 30,000 feet over the Pacific, and she'd be standing in a courthouse realizing that the wallet she'd counted on was gone. I didn't go to the office that morning. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop 3 miles from home, far enough that Diana wouldn't see my car if she happened to drive by, close enough that I could get back quickly if needed. I ordered a black coffee I didn't drink and opened my laptop. First stop, our joint credit card accounts. We had 3, 1 Visa, 1 MasterCard, 1 American Express we kept for emergencies. I logged into each one systematically, the way I'd review patient charts of the practice. Facts first, emotions later. The visa showed a balance of $18,400. It had been at zero 2 months ago. I scrolled through the charges. Car rental in Tucson, $840 for 2 weeks. Hotel stays at places I'd never heard of. Cash advances totaling $3,200. Restaurants I'd never eaten at. The dates lined up perfectly with nights Diana said she was working late at the foundation or visiting her sister in Flagstaff. The MasterCard was worse. $22,100. Jewelry purchases from a boutique downtown. $4, $600 on one transaction alone. More hotel charges. Plane tickets to Los Angeles. Round trip for 2. I checked the dates. 3 months ago, Diana told me she was at a nonprofit conference that weekend. She'd even shown me photos of the convention center. I wondered now if she just downloaded them from the internet. The American Express nearly made me laugh. $6,500. She'd kept this one under control, almost like she was being careful not to trigger alerts. Legal retainer fees for someone named Gerald Shapiro, $2, $800. Bail bondsman consultation, $1, $200. The rest was scattered across gas stations and fast food places along the I-10 corridor between Phoenix and Tucson, where the county jail holding Kyle was located. Total damage, $47,000. $47,000 of debt I'd be responsible for because my name was on every single account. I sat back in a chair and watched a mother at the next table trying to get her toddler to eat a muffin. The kid kept pushing it away, more interest in the toy truck he was rolling across the table. Simple problems. Simple solutions. I envied them. My phone buzzed. Diana. Hey babe, just checking in. How's your morning going? I stared at the message. The casual tone. The pet name. Like she hadn't just financially gutted me. I typed back. Busy. Talk tonight. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Okay. Love you. I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled up our vacation fund again and looked at the remaining balance. $27,140. She'd expect $54,280 to be there when she tried to transfer it. When she saw half was gone, she'd panic. She'd call me. She'd demand to know where the money went. But by then, I'd already be gone. I closed the laptop and pulled out the printed boarding pass from my jacket pocket. Flight 437 to Bora Bora via Los Angeles. Departure, 8:35 p.m. First class. One way. Cost, $8,400. Charge to the one credit card I'd opened in my name only, the one she didn't know existed. I'd been planning this escape route for 3 weeks, ever since I'd found a text on her phone while she was in the shower. Just one message, but it was enough. Can't wait to see you Thursday. Same place. The sender was listed as K. Bradford Mobile. Kyle, her ex, the man she swore she'd cut out of her life. I'd said nothing, just smiled when she came out of the bathroom, told her she looked beautiful, and started building my exit strategy. Now, sitting in this coffee shop with $47,000 of debt and a half-empty vacation fund, I realized something important. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. I finished my cold coffee, packed up my laptop, and headed home. I had 12 hours before my flight. 12 hours to pack, to close accounts, to disappear. Diana thought she was bailing out Kyle today. She had no idea she was bailing me out too. I got home 11 a.m. and walked straight to my study. The room still smelled like the leather chair my father had given me when I opened the practice. Diana never came in here. Said it felt too masculine, too closed off. Perfect. I pulled a duffel bag from the closet and started packing. Not everything, just essentials. 3 days worth of clothes, toiletries, my passport, the external hard drive with copies of every financial document I need, my father's Rolex, the one thing in this house that actually mattered to me. Then I sat down at the desk and opened her laptop. She'd left it here this morning, probably in a rush to get to work and start executing whatever plan she'd concocted with Kyle. Her password was Jordan's birthday. She'd never changed it in 7 years. Sloppy. I opened her email first. Nothing interesting in the inbox, just work correspondence and shopping newsletters. But the trash folder, that's where people get careless. I found what I was looking for in under 2 minutes. An email confirmation from Pacific Airways. Booking reference for 1 passenger. Diana M. Harper. Route. Phoenix to Bora Bora via Honolulu. Date: tomorrow, Wednesday, November 27th. Seat assignment: 3A. Cabin class. First. One way. Cost: $9,200. I sat back and read it again. She'd booked this 5 days ago. 5 days. While we were having dinner, watching TV, making small talk about holiday plans, she was already planning to drain our account and fly to paradise. Alone. I checked her browser history. Resort bookings. All-inclusive packages. She'd been researching this for weeks. There were save tabs for luxury villas, spa treatments, sunset cruises. She'd even looked up divorce lawyers in French Polynesia. Just browsing, probably. But the intent was clear. She wasn't bailing out Kyle because it was urgent. She was using him as an excuse to access the money. The bail was just the cover story. Get the cash, book the flight, disappear. Leave me here with the debt and the humiliation. I closed the laptop and pulled out my phone. I called James Rutherford, the attorney who'd handled my practices in corporation. He answered on the second ring. "Ray, what's going on?" James asked. "I need to protect my assets. Today. How fast can you draw up separation papers?" I said. James paused. "What happened?" "My wife is about to commit financial fraud using my credit and our joint accounts. I have documentation. I need legal separation filed by end of business today." "That's aggressive, Ray." James, $47,000 in unauthorized debt and a one-way ticket to Bora Bora booked on my credit card without my knowledge. How aggressive should I be? Another pause. "I'll have papers ready by 3 p.m. Bring everything you've got." I hung up and made the next call. Raymond Harper Jr., my brother, lived 2 hours away in Sedona, but owed me more favors than I could count. He picked up after 4 rings. "Junior, I need you to store some things for me. Important documents. Can I drop them off this afternoon?" I asked. "Sure, what's this about?" My brother replied. "I'll explain when I get there. Just need a safe place. Somewhere Diana can't access. Say no more. Come by any time." Last call. Bernard Pritchard, my accountant. Voicemail. I left a message. "Bernard, Raymond Harper. I need a full audit of joint accounts and a clean separation of business assets from personal. Call me back within the hour." By noon, I'd copied every financial record onto 3 separate drives. By 1 p.m., I was in James's office signing papers. By 2:30 p.m., I'd driven to Sedona, handed my brother a fireproof case with documents, and driven back. By 4 p.m., Bernard had called back with a plan to shield the dental practice from any claims Diana might make. At 5 p.m., I sat in my empty house and looked at my watch. Diana would be home in an hour. I'd be at the airport in 2. My phone buzzed. Text from her. "On my way home. Let's talk about Kyle. I know you're upset, but it's complicated." I typed back. "See you soon." One last lie. For old time's sake. Diana walked through the door at 6:15 p.m. with Chinese takeout and a smile that could sell ice to Antarctica. She set the bags on the counter and turned to me. "Hey, I grabbed your favorite. Kung Pao chicken, extra spicy," she said brightly. I stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed. Watching her unpack containers like this was a normal Tuesday evening. "We need to talk," I said. She glanced at me, that smile faltering just slightly. "I know. Look, I should have discussed Kyle with you first, but..." "Discussed?" I interrupted. "You sent me a text at 5 in the morning telling me you were taking $54,000 to bail out your criminal ex-husband. That's not a discussion. That's a declaration." Diana set down the container she was holding. "Ray, he's Jordan's father. He's in serious trouble this time. And if I don't help, how much debt have you put us in?" I asked. She blinked. "What?" "The credit cards, Diana." "How much?" Her face went pale. For a second, just a second, I saw the mask slip. Then she recovered, straightening her shoulders. "I've been handling some expenses. It's under control. $47,000. That's what you've charged across our 3 joint cards in the last 4 months. Legal fees, bail consultations, hotels, jewelry, trips to Los Angeles I knew nothing about," I said calmly. Diana's mouth opened. "Closed. You went through my accounts. Our accounts. Joint accounts. The ones with my name on them. The ones I'm legally responsible for." She stepped toward me. "Ray, listen, I can explain all of that. Kyle needed help setting up his defense, and the lawyer required retainers. And the jewelry, the boutique hotel stays, were those for Kyle's defense too?" I asked. She froze. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're not bailing out Kyle. You're not taking our vacation fund. In fact, you'll find that fund is significantly lighter than you expected. Diana's eyes widened. What did you do? I protected myself. Half that money is now in an account you can't touch. The other half, well, you'll need it to start paying down the $47,000 you've stolen. Stolen? How dare you? And the flight to Bora Bora, I said, pulling out my phone and showed her the email confirmation. One way. Tomorrow morning. First class. $9,000 on the American Express. Were you planning to invite me? Or was this always a solo trip? Diana's face went from pale to red. You went through my computer? Answer the question. She looked away. It's not what you think. Then what is it, Diana? Explain it to me. She turned back, and now there were tears forming. Real or performed, I couldn't tell anymore. Kyle's in serious trouble. If he doesn't make bail, he's looking at 15 years. Jordan would lose his father. Jordan's 22 years old. He's not a child. And Kyle lost the right to be called a father when he chose drugs and fraud over his family, I said. You don't understand, Diana insisted, her voice breaking. I understand perfectly. You've been funding Kyle's legal defense for months. You've been visiting him, supporting him, probably even planning a future with him. The Bora Bora trip wasn't for us. It was your escape plan. Get the money, get out, leave me with the debt. Diana wiped her eyes. That's not true. Then why is your suitcase already packed? I asked, nodding toward the bedroom. She followed my gaze, then snapped back to me. How long have you been spying on me? 3 weeks. Since I found the text from Kyle on your phone. The room went silent. Diana stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. You've been planning this, she whispered. Just like you have. Her jaw tightened. So what now? You're leaving. Already gone, I said, picking up my duffel bag from behind the door. Legal separation papers are filed. Accounts are frozen. I've documented everything. You want to bail out Kyle? Use your own money. I don't have any money, she shouted. Not my problem anymore. I walked past her toward the front door. She grabbed my arm. Ray, please. Don't do this. I looked at her hand on my sleeve, then at her face. You did this. I'm just finishing it. I pulled free and walked out the door. Behind me, I heard her sink to the floor, sobbing, but I didn't turn around. I walked to my car, threw the duffel in the back seat, and drove toward the airport. In my rearview mirror, I could see her standing in the doorway, phone pressed to her ear, probably calling Kyle to tell him the money wasn't coming. By 8:35 p.m., I was in seat 2A, watching Phoenix disappear beneath the clouds. Somewhere down there, Diana was realizing that the man she'd counted on to be weak had been strong all along. Diana stood in the courthouse parking lot at 2:45 p.m., phone pressed against her ear, pulse hammering. The call to the bank had confirmed what she'd feared since this morning. The vacation fund showed only $27,140. Half. Raymond had taken exactly half. Mrs. Harper, I need confirmation of funds within the next 15 minutes. Victor Ruiz, the bondsman, said from beside her. He was a stocky man in his 50s with tired eyes and a clipboard that might as well have been a death sentence. I'm working on it, Diana said, trying to keep her voice steady. There's been a banking error. I'll have it sorted out shortly. Ma'am, bail hearings don't wait for banking errors. You told me you had $54,000 available. Right now, with what you're showing, you're $23,000 short of what we need for the bond fee and collateral. Diana's hand shook as she opened her banking app again, as if the numbers might have changed in the last 60 seconds. They hadn't. She called Raymond. Straight to voicemail. She called again. Same result. Ray, I don't know what you're doing, but this isn't the time for games, she said into the phone, her voice rising. Kyle's hearing is in 45 minutes. I need that money. Call me back. Now. She hung up and immediately dialed Jordan. He answered on the third ring. Mom, Jordan, honey, I need you to do something for me. Can you go by the house and see if Raymond is there? Diana asked. I'm in Tempe, Mom. That's an hour away. What's going on? Just never mind. Have you talked to Ray today? Jordan hesitated. Yeah, about an hour ago. Diana's stomach dropped. What did he say? He told me about the debt and the Bora Bora ticket. Jordan, that's not. It's more complicated than. Mom, I'm not getting in the middle of this. Jordan interrupted. Whatever's happening between you two, leave me out of it. But your father needs. Kyle's not my problem anymore, Mom. He hasn't been for years. The line went dead. Diana stared at her phone, feeling the walls closing in. She tried Raymond one more time. Voicemail again. Mr. Ruiz, I need 30 minutes, she said, turning back to the bondsman. He checked his watch. You've got 15. After that, I'm moving to my next appointment. Your ex-husband stays in custody until someone comes up with the full amount. Diana nodded and walked toward her car, dialing her sister's number. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. She tried her mother. No answer. She tried 2 friends from work. One didn't pick up. The other said she didn't have that kind of money on such short notice. At 3:12 p.m., Diana walked back to Victor Ruiz and said the words she never thought she'd say. I can't make the full amount today. Ruiz closed his clipboard. Then we're done here. You want to try again? Give me a call when you got the funds. But I'll be honest with you, Mrs. Harper, bail amounts don't go down. They go up. He walked away. Diana stood alone in the parking lot as the courthouse doors opened and people streamed out. Lawyers, families, defendants who'd made bail. Kyle wasn't among them. Her phone buzzed. One new voicemail. She opened it. Raymond's voice, calm and measured. Diana, by now you've realized the money isn't there. You made your choice this morning. I made mine. Don't call me again. That was it. No anger. No yelling. Just finality. Diana sank onto a bench and buried her face in her hands. Everything was falling apart. By 5:30 p.m., Diana had left 7 voicemails for Raymond. None were returned. She'd driven home to find the house empty. Not just empty of people, but empty of him. His closet cleared out. His toiletries gone. Even his favorite coffee mug missing from the kitchen. She sat on the couch and scrolled through her contacts, looking for someone, anyone, who might help. Her finger hovered over her boss's name at Riverside Foundation. No, she couldn't ask him. That would raise too many questions. She tried Raymond's brother instead. Junior answered after 2 rings. Diana, what can I do for you? His tone was cold, formal. Junior, I need to reach Raymond. He's not answering my calls and... He told me not to give you any information, Junior said, cutting her off. This is important. Kyle's bail hearing. Kyle Bradford's problems aren't Ray's responsibility. They're not mine either. Please, just tell me where he is. Can't do that. He asked me to hold some documents for him. Legal documents. Separation papers, Diana. He's serious about this. Her throat tightened. He's overreacting. If he'd just let me explain. Explain $47,000 in secret debt. Explain a one-way ticket to Bora Bora you booked without telling him. I saw the evidence, Diana. He showed me everything. He had no right. He had every right. You committed fraud. If he wanted to, he could press charges. The line went dead. Diana threw her phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor, screen intact, but her composure shattered. At 7 p.m., she tried one last desperate move. She called Gerald Shapiro, the attorney she'd hired for Kyle's defense. He answered, but his tone was clipped. Mrs. Harper, I've been trying to reach you. We have a problem. I know. The bail didn't go through. It's more than that. Gerald interrupted. Your husband's attorney contacted me this afternoon. James Rutherford. He's filed for legal separation and flagged all joint accounts for potential fraud investigation. He's also put me on notice that any funds you've paid me with marital assets may be subject to clawback. Diana felt the room spin. He can't do that. He absolutely can. And if he proves you used joint funds without authorization for non-marital purposes, I may have to return the retainer. Which means Kyle's defense just lost its funding. Gerald, please. I'm sorry, Mrs. Harper. I can't continue representation under these circumstances. I'll send you a formal withdrawal notice by end of week. He hung up. Diana sat in the darkening living room, phone in her lap, realizing that Raymond hadn't just left. He'd systematically dismantled everything she'd built. Every plan, every backup, every safety net. She picked up her phone one more time and called his number. It didn't even ring, just a recorded message. The number you have reached is no longer in service. He'd changed his number, cut her off completely. Diana looked around the empty house and felt, for the first time in years, truly alone. 3 days into my stay in Bora Bora, I received an email from Bernard Pritchard, my accountant. Subject line, urgent foundation audit results. I opened it on the deck of my overwater bungalow, coffee in hand, oceans stretching endlessly before me. The email contained a PDF attachment, 47 pages of forensic accounting that Bernard's team had completed in 72 hours. What they'd found was worse than I'd imagined. Riverside Community Foundation, where Diana worked as development director, had been hemorrhaging money for 18 months. Bernard's team traced financial irregularities back to a series of emergency grants Diana had authorized without board approval. Grants to shell organizations, fake charities, made-up nonprofits with names that sounded legitimate but led nowhere. Total amount diverted, $340,000. The money had moved through 3 different accounts before landing in a personal LLC registered under Kyle Bradford's name, Bradford Consulting Services. Diana had been embezzling from her own nonprofit to fund Kyle's legal defense, his lifestyle, and apparently their planned escape to Bora Bora. Bernard's email continued. Raymond, I've forwarded this to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. They'll likely want to interview you as a potential witness since Diana used your joint accounts to facilitate some of these transactions. You're not implicated, but be prepared for contact. I set down my coffee and stared at the water. Diana hadn't just betrayed me. She committed federal crimes. Wire fraud, embezzlement, money laundering. My phone buzzed. James Rutherford, my attorney. Ray, have you seen Bernard's email? James asked when I answered. Just read it. The Foundation's board is meeting tomorrow. They're going to terminate Diana and file criminal charges. This is going to be very public. The local news is already sniffing around. Good, I said simply. Good. She made her choices, James. Now she gets to live with them. James paused. The FBI will want your cooperation. They'll need documentation of the joint account activity, credit card statements, anything that shows you weren't involved. I've got everything. I'll cooperate fully. One more thing, James added. Kyle Bradford's bail was denied permanently yesterday. Judge ruled him a flight risk after discovering Diana's financial schemes. He's staying in custody until trial. I closed my eyes and felt something loosen in my chest. Thanks for letting me know. After hanging up, I walked to the edge of the deck and looked down at the clear blue water. Small fish darted between the coral formations below. Everything here was transparent, visible, honest. Back in Phoenix, Diana's world was collapsing under the weight of lies she could no longer sustain. I'd escaped just in time. On day 5, Jordan called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Ray, I need to talk to you about Mom, Jordan said, his voice heavy. What about her? She got arrested yesterday. FBI showed up at the house with a warrant. They're charging her with embezzlement, wire fraud, and money laundering. It's all over the news. I sat down on the deck chair. I'd known this was coming, but hearing it confirmed still felt surreal. How are you doing? Honestly, I'm angry. At her, at my dad, at this whole situation. I just found out she'd been stealing from the foundation for over a year. The same foundation that's supposed to help families in crisis. How do you do that? I don't know, Jordan. They're saying the total amount is over $300,000. Ray, that's insane. Where did all that money even go? Kyle's legal fees, hotels, travel, the Bora Bora ticket. She was funding a life with him using stolen money. Jordan was quiet for a moment. The public defender told me she's looking at 10 to 15 years if convicted. They denied her bail because they think she's a flight risk. Ironic, right? Where are you staying? With my roommate in Tempe. I can't go back to that house. It doesn't feel like home anymore. Jordan, listen to me. I said carefully. What your mother did isn't your fault. You're not responsible for her choices. I know, but it still feels like I should have seen something. Some sign that she was doing this. She hid it from everyone, even me. Don't carry that guilt. He exhaled slowly. Are you coming back to Phoenix? Eventually, but not yet. I need some distance. I get it. Ray, before you go, thank you for everything you did for me, for helping with college, for being around when Dad wasn't. You didn't have to do any of that. You were worth it, Jordan. You still are. After we hung up, I received a text from an unknown number. I opened it cautiously. Mr. Harper, this is Special Agent Lisa Thornton with the FBI. We'd like to schedule an interview regarding Diana Harper's financial activities. Please call me at your earliest convenience. I saved the number and called back immediately. Agent Thornton answered on the first ring. Mr. Harper, thank you for responding so quickly. We understand you're out of the country currently. I'm in French Polynesia, Bora Bora. I can return if needed. That won't be necessary yet. We can conduct the initial interview via video conference. When would work for you? Anytime. I have documentation ready. Excellent. We'll set something up for tomorrow morning, your time. Mr. Harper, I want to be clear. You're not under investigation. Our records show you reported the fraudulent credit card activity and initiated separation proceedings before we became involved. You're a witness, not a suspect. Understand. One more thing. Diana Harper's attorney is trying to claim you were complicit in the financial schemes, that you authorized the transfers. We know that's false, but we need your cooperation to shut down that defense. You'll have it, whatever you need. The call ended. I looked out at the lagoon where a couple was paddleboarding, laughing as they splashed each other. Simple joy. Honest happiness. Diana had chosen deception and crime. I'd chosen truth and distance. Now the justice system would decide what came next. But whatever happened to her, I was done being part of her story. 4 months later, I sat in a federal courthouse in Phoenix, watching Diana's trial unfold. I wasn't required to be there. The FBI had my testimony on record, but James Rutherford suggested my presence would send a message. That I wasn't hiding. That I'd done nothing wrong. Diana looked smaller somehow, diminished in her orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. Her attorney, a public defender who looked fresh out of law school, was outmatched by the prosecution's mountain of evidence. Bank records, emails, witness testimony from Riverside Foundation board members who describe how Diana had systematically looted the organization while projecting an image of dedicated service. The prosecution called me to the stand on day 3. Diana's attorney tried to paint me as a vengeful ex-husband, but the cross-examination fell apart when they couldn't challenge a single document I provided. Everything was time-stamped, verified, and corroborated by third parties. Mr. Harper, when did you first become aware of your wife's criminal activities? The prosecutor asked. When I discovered $47,000 in unauthorized debt on our joint credit cards. That led me to investigate further, which revealed the embezzlement scheme. And what action did you take? I secured my assets, filed for legal separation, and cooperated fully with federal investigators. Diana stared at me from the defense table. No tears this time, no pleading looks, just the cold realization that I'd become the witness who would help bury her. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Wire fraud, embezzlement, money laundering. The judge set sentencing for 3 weeks later. I didn't attend the sentencing hearing, but James called me with the results. 12 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. Diana would be 58 when she got out. Kyle Bradford, tried separately, got 15 years for his role in the conspiracy. Jordan called me that evening. Ray, it's over. Mom's going away for 12 years. How are you doing with that? Honestly, relieved. I know that sounds terrible, but I feel like I can finally breathe. Like I'm not waiting for the next disaster. That's not terrible. That's survival. Are you coming back to Phoenix? Eventually. I've been looking at selling the practice. Maybe relocating. Too many bad memories here. Where would you go? Haven't decided yet. Somewhere quieter. Somewhere I can start over. We talked for another 20 minutes about his classes, his girlfriend, his plans for summer. Normal things. The kind of conversation that felt impossible 4 months ago. After hanging up, I walked out onto the hotel balcony. I'd moved from Bora Bora to a long-term rental in Maui 2 months prior, and watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. The ocean rolled endlessly toward shore, each wave erasing the marks of the one before. Diana had tried to steal my future. Instead, she'd lost her own, and I'd discovered something important in the process. Freedom isn't just about escaping bad situations. It's about refusing to let those situations define you. 11 months after leaving Phoenix, I sold the dental practice to a young dentist from Scottsdale who reminded me of myself 20 years ago. Ambitious, idealistic, ready to build something. The sale gave me enough to retire comfortably if I wanted, or start something new if I didn't. I chose new. I opened a small practice in Kauai, Hawaii. 3 chairs, 2 hygienists, and a focus on community dentistry rather than profit margins. The pace was slower. The patients were locals who actually remember my name. I worked 4 days a week and spent the rest of my time learning to surf, hiking Na Pali Coast, and reading books I've been meaning to get to for years. Jordan visited during his spring break. We spent a week diving, eating fresh fish, and talking about everything except Diana. He'd changed his last name legally to Harper 6 months after her conviction. Said it felt more honest, that I'd earned it more than the man whose DNA he shared. On his last night, we sat on my lanai watching the stars emerge over the Pacific. "Ray, can I ask you something?" Jordan said. "Always. Do you ever regret it? Walking away when you did?" I thought about that morning in Phoenix, standing in my kitchen, reading Diana's text about bailing out Kyle. The moment everything shifted. "No," I said. "I regret not seeing it sooner. But I don't regret leaving." Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is refuse to participate in someone else's destruction. She tried to call me last month. From prison. I didn't accept the call. That's your choice to make. No judgment either way. I'm not ready. Maybe someday, but not now. We sat in comfortable silence, the sound of waves filling the space between words. A year after that, I met someone. Dr. Emily Nakamura, a pediatrician who ran a clinic in Lihue. We met at a community health fair, bonded over mutual frustration with insurance companies, and ended up talking for 3 hours over coffee that turned into dinner. She was divorced, no kids, and refreshingly direct about what she wanted. Honesty, partnership, someone who showed up. I could do that. On our 6th date, she asked about my ex-wife. I told her the whole story. The embezzlement, the betrayal, the escape to Bora Bora that became permanent relocation to Hawaii. She listened without interruption, then said, "Sounds like you dodged a prison sentence of your own. How do you figure?" Staying with her would have been its own kind of incarceration. At least this way, only one of you is behind bars. I laughed. Actually laughed. Something I hadn't done in the early days after leaving Phoenix, when everything felt raw and uncertain. 2 years after leaving Diana, I stood on a beach in Hanalei Bay with Emily beside me, Jordan standing as my best man, and a handful of friends who become family. The ceremony was simple. The vows were honest. The future was unwritten, but full of possibility. Diana sent a letter from prison. I never opened it. Whatever she needed to say, I didn't need to hear. That chapter was closed, and I had no interest in rereading it. Some people asked if I ever felt guilty, if I wondered whether I should have tried harder to make the marriage work. The answer was simple. You can't make something work with someone who's actively destroying it. You can only save yourself. And that's exactly what I did. As the sun set over Kauai that evening, Emily squeezed my hand and whispered, "You ready for this?" I looked at her, at Jordan smiling from the front row, at the life I'd built from the wreckage of what I'd left behind. "Yeah," I said. "I really am."